Hello there and welcome to Build Wealth with me, episode number 2, where we talk about all things finance, investing related, and anything else that you want to talk about. A big thank you for your questions. Have a number of them here, printed and ready to go. And a big thank you for everybody that commented and shared feedback on the previous set of videos. I appreciate everything that you sent. Thank you very much. It was great to hear from some ex-colleagues in there as well, some current ones. And as always, it was great to get a bit of abuse as well. I'm more than happy with a little bit of abuse coming through. A big thank you to Harry from Huddersfield, who kindly pointed out that my tie did not match, the colour of my tie did not match the colour of my buttonhole last week. Thank you, Harry. I'm sure that really troubled you. I'm sure you'll be pleased to know that today I'm in the blue and the blue. So hopefully that makes you happy, Harry. First question that I am going to answer today is how do I build wealth? And the truth is, building wealth is the same as building absolutely anything. To build absolutely anything, you need a plan. A plan needs to have structure. It needs to have steps. Steps will give you milestones. But of course, with anything in life, you don't get that structure without starting. So whatever it is you're trying to build, whether it's wealth or anything else, always make sure you just start. There's never a good time to start. There's always something that's coming up. Never a good time to go to the gym because you've got this involved. Never a good time to stop drinking because you've got these events coming up. Never a good time to start saving because you've always got these expenses coming up. But the key is to just start, even if you're just starting small. Another great question here is, how do I create momentum? I'm not sure if this is momentum with savings or just momentum in life, but I think the two actually work hand in hand. And I'd say that to create momentum, you need to do 5 things. Number 1, start small. Start small, whatever it is that you're doing. Try not to get too far into the future. Just start and start small. Starting is the key to anything. There's always a reason as to why you can't start, but you've got to just start. Number 2 is make sure that you've got clear goals. What is it that you're trying to create momentum in? And what are those goals along the way? What are those small steps that you need to achieve all the way through the process? Number 3, momentum comes from routine. So make sure that you have a good routine. That routine should work for you. Don't get too caught up in this Instagram world of you've got to do this to be successful. You've got to have a routine, but that routine has to work for you. Number 4 is prioritize tasks. So when you're trying to create momentum, when you're trying to hit goals, what are the tasks that you need to prioritize? What are the real movers and shakers when it comes to what you're trying to create momentum in? And number 5 is when you are trying to create momentum or you're trying to hit anything in life, just understand that you're going to need to pivot. That is normal. The plan is going to change a little bit. You're going to have to move, shift, pivot along the way, change the strategy, and that's absolutely fine because life happens, obstacles will happen, and you're going to have to change that strategy along the way, and that is how you create momentum. Another great question I've received here is, how do I create wealth? There's 2 things. Number 1 is earn more. So in your current job, what do you need to do to be earning more? Is there a level above you that you're looking to reach? What do you need to do to get to that level? Is it that you need to invest in yourself? Are there exams or certificates or accreditations that you could be doing? Is there extra studying you could be doing? Is there a way that you could renegotiate your salary? Is there a way that you could take on more tasks within your current job role? And in doing that, the company would pay you more. So that's one way of creating extra wealth, is to earn more. The second is to make sure that you save and you invest wisely. And that's super important. Cash flow is king. Is there a way that you can reduce any current expenses? Is there a way that you could renegotiate any of your current expenses? Is there anything that you have to pay for each and every month that you could shop around for? Could you get a better deal? Could you get a better price? And then, of course, that's the saving and the budget. That, of course, is the saving and the budgeting aspect of building wealth. and then it comes down to investing wisely. For me, I would always speak to a professional, first of all, speak to an expert, get their advice, get their opinions on what you should be doing. They'll give you help with knowing what the market's doing, knowing which stocks are performing well at the moment, knowing which stocks to avoid. For me, I like investing in things that give me an income. I like that. It helps with cash flow. I like stocks that pay dividends. I like property because that will, of course, give you an income. I like funds that give you income as well. So that's what I like doing in terms of how to create wealth. Number one, can you earn more in what you're doing? Number two, just make sure you are saving and investing as wisely as you possibly can, but always speak to an expert, always speak to a professional. Great question here. 3 areas to consider if my investment is plateauing. So if your investment is plodding along, not really doing much, what are 3 ideas that I could give you? Number one is just reassess your goals. Should be doing this really every year. I like to do it at the start of the year. What are my goals for the year? What are my personal goals? What are my professional goals? What are my investment goals? When it comes to investment goals, I like to keep things simple, as you know, break them down into 3 separate sections. What are my short-term investment goals? What are my medium-term investment goals? What are my long-term investment goals? Short-term is 0 to 5 years. What do you want to achieve in that 0 to 5 years? Is it building up an emergency fund? Is it building up more savings in the bank? So when life happens, you've got cash there. Is it buying a property? Is that a goal for yours within the next 5 years? Medium-term goals is really anything 5 to 10 years. What do you want to achieve investment-wise within 5 to 10 years? And then my longer-term stuff is anything 10 years, 15 years plus. Typically that's pension planning, retirement planning. Maybe you've got young children, and in that 10, 15 year gap, or maybe slightly more, you're thinking about contributing towards their education planning. Maybe it's university. Maybe the kids are older and you want to help them. Maybe your kids are older and you want to help them get on the property ladder. Perhaps that's a longer term goal. So number one is always reassess your goals, and then your investments should fit into those goals. Number two is, if your investment is plateauing, are you diversified enough? And this is super, super important. It's very, very simple. It's making sure all your eggs aren't in one basket. I would always speak to an investment professional or financial advisor, someone that's regulated in your area, about diversification. Markets change, market moves. Markets change, markets move. Is your money in the right place for shorter term and longer term market growth? Last year tech did very, very well, or tech and AI, if we want to bundle those together. You look at stocks like Nvidia, they absolutely flew. Some of the pharmaceuticals struggled last year. When you look at Moderna, when you look at Pfizer, they struggled last year. I think they lost 40, 45, maybe 46%, something like that. So it's always worth checking if your investment is diversified enough when taking into account your goals that you've set. And number three is, always with investment portfolios, you should review them, whether that's every quarter, whether that's every quarter for you, whether that's every 6 months, but you should always be checking in with your financial advisor just to see how are the investments performing. Do you need to make any little changes based on where the market's currently at, or if the portfolio should stay as it is? So those would be my 3 top tips if you feel your investment is plateauing, but always speak to a financial advisor. If you want information on that, reach out, send me a DM, or pop something in the comments, and I'll be pleased to help you do that depending on where you live. This was a good question. Does money buy you happiness? This seems to be quite a debate at the moment. I've seen this everywhere on social media, so I'm not surprised someone's asking it. Can money buy you happiness? If I had to give one answer, it would be no. I've met plenty of people that have got money and they're not happy. I've met plenty of people without money that are happy. So can money buy happiness? No. However, let me caveat that if I can. If you have money and you have money behind you and you've saved wisely, money can buy you time. So by that, I mean, if there's tasks that you don't want to do, by having money, you've got the option to get other people to do those for you. So money can free up your time, and time is our most precious commodity that we have. I'd say that money gives you options. That's the good thing about having money is, and this is what my old man always talks about, is he wants to have capital behind him, wants to have cash behind him so he can choose the food and not the price. You go into a restaurant, you have what you want to eat based on what you want to eat, not what you can afford to eat. So money does give you options, buys you time, gives you options. I'd also say that money is super useful when it comes to healthcare. Whether that's you being healthy, it helps if you have money saved up behind you. You can spend money on nicer, higher quality foods. You can afford to go to the gym. You can afford to go to a nicer gym. You can afford to buy things that help with your health, all those little gadgets that we love. Of course, if you've ever had a relative that's been sick and has got something or had something which the NHS couldn't cure, having a private medical opinion can sometimes help with that too. So I'd say that money doesn't buy you happiness, but it can buy you time. It can give you options, and it can certainly help with your health. And I say that having those three things in abundance can make you more happy. So hopefully I've caveated that and I've explained that well enough to you. I had another good question here. Does money change people? Another good question here was, does money change people? I would say no on that. And I know that might be slightly controversial, so let me explain it. I think money makes you more of what you already are. So the truth is, if you're a bit of an arsehole to begin with and you get money, you're probably going to be a bit more of an arsehole. I would say that if you're a generous person and you're a kind person to start with and you get money, you suddenly win the lottery, you're probably going to do things because you're a kind and generous person anyway, and the money would make you more of a kind and generous person. So I think money doesn't change people. I'd love to know your feedback on this. I'd love to know your comments. Put them in the comments box below. Would love to get your opinions. But mine is that money doesn't change people. It makes you more of what you already are. This was a cool question. Would you move to Saudi if you were a football player? This is a tough one to answer. It depends what you're motivated by. So if you are motivated by competition, you're competitive and you want to win trophies, you want the silverware in your trophy cabinet, then no, a move to Saudi wouldn't help because it's not a competitive league yet, and the trophies that you could win whilst there, no one really cares about at the moment. Whether that's different in the future, who knows? If you're motivated by money and you don't really care about trophies in the trophy cabinet, then yes, of course, a move to Saudi would be good. They pay good money, it's tax-free environment. So yes, if you're motivated by money, that would be a good move. If you're motivated by lifestyle, Saudi might not be a good move. If you want to be in a more developed place with better town centres and better shops and better bars, or I don't know, whatever it is that you like from a lifestyle point of view, Saudi at the moment probably wouldn't tick those boxes. But the question was, would I move to Saudi if I was a player? I'm motivated by competition, and I always have been. I like being competitive. Someone said to me once, I can compete with my own shadow. Yep, I absolutely can. If I've got no one to compete with, I'll compete with myself. I'll make up a competition. I'll compete with myself from last year, last month. So for me, it's all about competition. And I know that if I'm winning at work, the money will follow. So for me, it's about being competitive. The Saudi League wouldn't give me that. And if I was in my absolute prime as a player, I was anywhere up until the age of 30, 31, no, I wouldn't consider moving to Saudi. But after the age of 30, 31, would I like to play in more sunnier weather? Yeah, maybe. Would the money appeal to me at that age when my income was probably starting to deplete? Yes, it would. And I think money's important. I don't think money buys you happiness, but I think it's bloody important. I think it's important that you have money behind you to pay for healthcare if you ever need it. And the NHS, for example, in the UK couldn't help me. I think that's important. I think having money to pass down to your children is important. It's just my personal opinion. I would like to help with my kids' education. That's important to me. I would like to help my kids onto the property ladder. That's important to me. Money is important to me for those reasons. And if I felt as a player that at the age of 31, 32, I couldn't get those things from my current league, would I move to Saudi then? Yes, I probably would. So it's different for everyone. We're all motivated by different things. And those motivations in life will change throughout life, I'm sure. For me, it's all about competition. If I'm winning, the money will come anyway. And I know that there's a lot of players that are like that. But I also think there's a point in your career where maybe you got to Ronaldo's level and you've won everything and you've got the trophies and you've got, you could say he's got the money in the bank, but that place helps you get to another level. Then I completely understand why people move. Good question here. How can I increase my income? So you should always be looking, I think you should always be looking at level above. Who is the level above me? Where do I want to get to? For me, when I think it was 2011, and I was in Abu Dhabi as a consultant, I remember saying to my manager Graham at the time, I said, listen, mate, how do I get to the level above? I want to be a manager too. And he said to me, first of all, act the role that you want to become. So for me, it was about doing some of the sales meetings. He let me do a couple of them. They were on a Sunday morning. That was the working week. Back then in the Middle East, it was Sunday to Thursday. He gave me the opportunity to plan, prepare, and execute a couple of morning sales meetings. That helped me to act the role that I wanted to become. But it's more than that, of course it is. It's not just acting the role that you want to become. It's being seen as the role that you want to become. What do you need to do for that? What do you need to do to get to that level above you? Is it exams? Are there certificates that you need to do? Can you get accreditations in whatever industry you're in? In finance, it's very, very easy. It's a clear path for anybody that wants to become fully qualified, wants to become chartered. It's clear, it's in black and white. What do you need from an exam point of view in your industry to get better and therefore increase your income? Might not be exams and certificates, might be skills. Are there skills that you're lacking in that you need to develop to help you get to that next level? I would say when it comes to increasing income, you need to be good at negotiating your salary. You need to be very, very aware of the value that you bring to the business. Be self-aware enough, though, as well. So be self-aware enough that if you aren't at the level you need to be at to progress, be critical of yourself almost to say, right, what can I develop from a skills point of view to get to that next level? I would say in life, always be building a strong network. So that's super important. Have people around you that are higher than or going in the direction that you want to go in. A strong network will definitely help you increase your income. I think in this day and age, you need to have a strong personal brand. I think it's important to have that. Yes, you're representing a company. I'm representing De Vere. That will never change. From day one, pretty much, I represented De Vere. Till the day I die, I'll represent De Vere. But I think it's important to have a strong brand on the side of that as well. Yes, I've got De Vere, but there's also James Green that needs to have a strong brand. Can you move into social media? Can you develop your own personal brand? Is that in conflict with what you're doing with the company, or is that allowed? And then the last thing I would say because the question was, how can I increase my income? Is make sure that you are careful with what you spend. That might not increase your income, but it will give you more money to invest in income-generating assets. What can you invest in that will increase your income? Is it property? Is it stocks that pay dividends? Is it funds that give you income? Right, that's it from this week's show. If you've got any questions, any comments, do feel free to reach out directly and send me any questions that you would like covered on next week's show. And a big thank you in advance for anyone that does comment and give me feedback. Constructive feedback. Positive constructive feedback. Thank you very much for reaching out.